Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to be working on a Penn International 965. This is Penn's top-of-the-line round bait casting reel, and it's suffering from a problem that seems to occur quite a bit with this particular model series, and that is the free spool release and kickback. It's got a kind of an interesting design, but in this case, this one belongs to Ron. Ron brought it into the shop. Says I can't depress the button, and you know what, he's right. He said when it jammed the last time, well, it had an unusual little snap to it, and he doesn't know if it's a piece in a part or if what's going on. And well, it's kind of hard to diagnose by just kind of learning what he was using it for. He uses it on the New Jersey coast, and he's using it for the typical summer species, fluke, or what's called summer flounder, sea bass, and porgies and the like. And well, he asked me if I could fix it. Well, the first step of fixing it is to diagnose what the cause is. I suspect we may need to go get parts for this. If we do need to get parts for that, we'll make this two segment video, the first one being the diagnosis. So let's call this one How to Diagnose a Problem with a Free Spool Release, and then we'll tell you what the issues are, and we'll try to figure out what the remedy is as well. I removed the handle screw, then the handle. As I take my pieces and parts off, they go into a parts tray for safekeeping. I also take pictures. I recommend you take pictures as well. If you take the pictures of critical junctures along the way, like what happens when we remove the star adjuster, there'll be something underneath here. You want to note what that something is. There's one tension washer inside the cup here, and here's a second. And taking a picture before you remove the pieces and parts is always a good idea in case you get stuck during reassembly. Another good idea is subscribing to my channel if you like the idea of fixing your own fishing reels, keeping them maintained, and getting them back out there fishing again when they break. If you like to learn more about fishing reels, the mechanics behind them and how they're used, or if you just generally are interested in them, then I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel. If you do subscribe to the channel, I recommend that you use that notification page. It'll let you know when I'm publishing, and you'll be able to see if it's a video you like. All right, we just loosened the two side plate screws. We should be able to remove the side plate now. And this shouldn't be. We shouldn't have a spool come off like that. So one of the issues we have here looks to be maybe trapped line. I see the older line is all messed up here. That could prevent it from free spooling because, well, when you go to pull the pinion gear off of the spool shaft, if it's stuck like this, it becomes the issue, and it'll jam it here. It won't allow it to pull back. Well, that bearing is frozen, so that could be a problem. Oh yeah, that's quite an issue with that, but let's see if this thing works. Yeah, look at that. So the whole issue is inside the spool was jammed. And my guess is if that bearing looks like that, the rest of this reel looks like that as well. So what's the lesson learned with this one? The lesson learned here is to not jump to conclusions. He said he had heard something funky, and with that he had assumed that something broke, and didn't even bother to try and check out underneath here. The other lesson is to service this one in due course, like every once a year. You'll avoid something like this frozen bearing here. All right, well, let's just take a look inside. We're going to not just jump to the conclusion like maybe he did, that it's a mechanical issue, but let's see if there's other issues here. To get to the core workings of this reel, you want to remove the screws. There's two screws that are holding the side plate onto the gear assembly bridge plate. So let's take those off right now. That's one, kind of jumped out a little bit. That's another good reason for me to take videos. If I didn't see it bounce there, I always go back to the video and take a look, and well, sometimes you'll capture that moment just where it bounced. Yes, pieces do bounce from time to time. in my shop. So you're not alone if you've lost a piece or two in your lifetime. All right, let's open it up, see what we got. And as I suspected, everything else in here says the same thing. This reel has not been serviced in a very long time. You can notice the rust on the main gears. And, well, this deserves a complete take apart to make sure that we do this properly. And it's not that hard to do it. I'm going to remove some of the pieces now. The things I'm more concerned about at the moment is, are there broken pieces and parts in here? And one of the things I notice is that the reel has been serviced, always good, because we have fresh drag washers in there. Let's just bring that apart. It also looks like he's probably been pressing down on these an awful lot, because those metals are sticking. Here's an example here of the issue. This should be pulling off nice and easy, and as we saw, this was sticking here and probably rusted in there. That's probably what happened. So when you went to push the button down to pull this off, it was rusted, it wouldn't pull back, and well, that's the core of the issue there. All right, we'll just take a couple of other things here. I'll just show you how to strip this off. And there are full service videos out there. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to the full service video of this one. I like to take that one off. I also like to take the micro pliers and remove the spring on both sides of this. Generally speaking, I'll remove the spring by pulling up. That generally frees it from the post. Sometimes, well, it comes off completely. That's okay too. Again, you wanted to take a picture before you started doing that. Now we can push our assembly down here, and that should enable us to bring this whole assembly out after we take this spring off. So again, if you're looking for common failure points in reels, this is by far one of the most common. This is our jack. And well, we'll continue. We seem to be doing okay here. This is the other one. This is a kind of a notched click ratchet that's going to throw the trip lever back. And this trip lever, this one's in good condition, but this trip lever has a round circle here that's going to fit in those notches. And a lot of times with extreme use, this rounds over or rounds out, or it becomes very worn and doesn't have enough to catch this this piece. All right, let's clean this up. I'm not going to remove that trip lever. It seems to be doing fine. You can if you like. But I know that the issue here is on the other side of this. And I probably won't go complete the whole service. We'll have to see what kind of time is available. I really wanted to do this one as a diagnosis. You can see the rust on the back here. That's unusual. So that might just be old dried grease. I'm going to take a flat file and just kind of run it. Yeah, that's just dried grease. But you can see it does have a pitting effect on that main gear. To deal with that, usually you can use a cloth. Sometimes it needs more than that cloth. I'm going to use 400000 steel wool to try and get whatever that is that's stuck there. And the materials on this reel are very good. It's a high quality reel. It's a desirable reel. A lot of folks enjoy fishing with it. A lot of folks will fish with none other. It's a very versatile reel at the 65 size, and a lot of folks just enjoy the reel overall. And well, I got to say, I'm one of them. I'm a fan of this reel, and I think that properly maintained, this is one of the best reels out there for inshore fishing. Okay, there we know that we got all kinds of junk in here, so I'm going to take a penetrating oil and a hard bristle brush, pull through. You'll see the dirt will come out onto the paper towel here. I just want to make sure that there's no chunks in here or anything. He didn't complain about the performance of the reel. What he said was there was an issue with that free spool release, and after opening up the reel, it was easy to see. I'm going to do the same thing here with the slide or the jack. This is going to pull the pinion gear back. There's two little ramps on here, or how that works. Just a light coating of grease onto the back side here. Put too much in and that grease dries, well then it becomes a barrier. You don't want that. Then you can just slide it in like this, pull up and out. Oh. Through the hole. And if you like, you could probably put a little drop of oil here. This is plastic on plastic. Okay. Well, we took those two springs off. Let's put those springs back together again. They're mirror image springs. One has the right angle going that way, the other way. Generally speaking, what I will do is I will try to hook it over the one side like this, and then with my micro pliers just kind of compress it and bring it into the hole so that it sets like that. And that's not going to be a flat lie over there. That's just the way that that spring works. I'll do it on the other side here, kind of like I can show you again. Over the post on the one side, my hand is blocking that, I understand that. Over the post on the one side, grab the tag arm, kind of pull back to compress, set it into the hole there. Just be patient as you're doing it. It's not easy all the time. Okay, you're going to notice that we're off here. You need to pull this back so that it rides inside the channel just like that. All right, let's clean up the yoke. And again, if you're servicing your reel, you're going to do the same thing. Now, we were fortunate here. He convinced me with the discussion that we had that there was a broken piece in here, and there's not a broken piece in here. So the only thing that was broken, I would say, is the line that was surrounding the spool there that kind of prevented it, and that burring on the spool. Well, hopefully we'll be able to remove that burring. But for now, we don't need to worry the burring. We need to clean up all the pieces, and again, you'll see all that old dirt and debris is coming out from the pinion gear. We've cleaned the yoke. We've cleaned the grooves on the pinion gear. Next, what we want to do is to kind of lather that up with some fishing reel grease. Two sides to the pinion gear. One side has the cross hatching, the other is flat and has the extension for the gear. I'm going to put a little bit of penetrating oil inside and just run this through it. Just to make sure that gets flushed out as well. Okay. This sets with the slot facing in over the two posts onto the jack like that. I'll make sure to put a little grease on that, so I can do that now. Putting grease into the teeth. Next up then is our trip lever. The trip lever has a rectangle that sits on the rectangular inlay on your gear sleeve. Then we have the bottom end washer. The bottom end washer is going to go over this lip here, so I guess we got to wait on that. Let's see if we can get that there. Yeah, okay, it'll sit that way. All right, same thing here. We've cleaned the main gear. Let's put a fresh coating of grease onto that. And you don't have to get the grease in every tooth, because your pinion gear is smaller than your main gear. You will spread that grease around. All right, these are HT100 washers. You don't need to put grease on them. You can if you like. because of all that rust I saw in there. We're going to put a little bit of grease in. I'm going to use my gloved hand to spread it. You need to see the cross hatching in that gear after you've completed your greasing in order to have it done properly. Just searching for that other washer. I knew it was there. All right, metal washer goes in, make sure they're clean. These had a little bit of a bow to them, I guess, from over tightening. Same idea, grease on. Little sheen, but make sure you can see that. If you can't, just wipe off the excess. Bring that on. Middle washer is the one that has the two ears on it, or studs, with the circular center. They fit into the groove of the main gear. One more. So far we've seen, or we've showed you, how to take this completely apart on the gear side. And well, now we're showing you how to put it back together again. We have our two springs. They go next. And from everything that I've examined here, we don't need the pieces and parts. Everything seems to be in good condition except for the bearing on the spool. So we'll tighten up this end. We'll go see if we can find a spool bearing. Looking at this, I think that you may have a case bearing here too that's missing. Alright, I'm going to shut the camera off. I'm not sure, but it sure looks like a bearing belongs there. I'm going to go get the schematic. It's always a safeguard to make sure that we know what we're doing. Okay, so I went and I got this schematic. Now this is the 955, but I checked against the 965 and it's the same. And two things that are of interest here. The first one is that the bearing that is on that spool is a fixed bearing. It's pressed, I guess the pin is pressed into that assembly. Can't be removed, so we'll do our best with penetrating oil, master blaster, those kinds of things. See if we can't get it to spin better than what it's spinning right now. The second one was, as I suspected, there is a bushing, not a bearing, but a bushing that belongs under the cap here. And well, I'm pretty sure that isn't here. So we have some kind of plastic thing here. I guess maybe that is the bushing. All right, well, lessons learned. We're going to leave that as it is, and we can go about reassembling. Now, the first thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to grab that penetrating oil and just flood that, and we'll just sit that upright, let it soak in, see if that can help at all with the performance. To finish the inside of this reel then, we've cleaned this all off. You can run a cotton swab inside the anti-reverse, but do not oil or grease that. It's a friction-driven device. Oil and grease eliminate friction, and you'll get a skip. It's going to grab onto your inner collar here. If it's oiled, it won't grab as well. Okay, line it all up. Easy one to line up because you have that slot in the case. Bring it all down, make sure that it's nice tight fit, and go get those two screws that always seem to give me a little trouble. And let's set that down. I thank Dick every time I go to do one of these little reels. Dick out in Pennsylvania, he sent me this tool a while ago. It's a split fork screw starter for flat or straight groove screws. And as soon as I do these pen reels, I always think of Dick and his kindness. All right, so this is back now. Turns nice and free and easy. Wonderful. We're going to see if we can't get this other one out here, just to make sure that we clean underneath. As we said, there's a lot of dirt there. I'm also going to take a moment here with a kitchen scrubby that has a little bit of rod and reel cleaner on it to get the back haze and dirt off of this. We'll do the same on the front. It'll shine it up. The kitchen scrubby is not abrasive, so it always works well. All right, There's a belly in these tension washers. I put the belly or curved side facing up on the first, down on the second. And we can bring the star adjuster on. Hold the post until you get that done. If you need more leverage, you can put the handle on there as a wrench. Next up is our little tension spring that goes between the star adjuster and the handle. Most bait casting reels have this so you don't back off the handle or back off the star adjuster into the handle. I like to finish the tightening down of the star adjuster once the handle is on. That way when you put the handle screw or nut back on, you don't trap that star adjuster. Common thing to do. So these reels are made in the US. They're beautiful reels. And if you have the opportunity to get one, it's a great reel to add to your collection. Alright, cap goes on top. Tighten down on the screw there. Let's see what we can do with this bearing. Yeah, we're still a little tight, but it's moving. That's the good point. Now we got a moving bearing. Let's mop that up. Well, for the purpose of this video, we're going to just put this on. We'll show you how we did, and then probably take this spool off a couple of more times. Keep flushing that out until I get the best that I can get out of that, given the circumstances. I'm sure he doesn't want to go for a new spool. Here's the thing on the back. This is kind of interesting as well. So this is a drag that they have on the back that's adjustable. You can turn this wheel back here to set it high or set it low. It will move these pins in and out. You can see the way that there's a kind of a groove here, right, in these wheels. So depending on where it is, if you want to max out, which is where it is now, it's riding on the high side. As you turn this, it will retract these pins and give you more casting ability. One more thing to do on this, well, two more things to do on this. First one is to put a drop of oil into the back bearing. And as I do that, my eyes are catching that there's a little bit of dirt in here, so let's get that out of the way as well. So much of reel repair is cleaning, examining, replacing worn parts, and relubrication to keep it going in the future. The other thing I wanted to do is to service the line guide mechanism, the assembly. I'm going to start by removing the cap, which holds the pawl. This is very popular with a lot of folks that do bottom fishing because it does have the line guide. The pawl is inside the cap. The pawl is, in this case, is kind of moving freely, but I notice there is a lot of dirt on the shoulders, so you do want to clear that that dirt off of there. And then you want to inspect the points to make sure that they're equal and not damaged. All right, drop of oil into the cup. Just bring the pawl back on. We need to work that back into the assembly. Never an easy task for me, but with a little bit of patience, you'll get it. I think I have an easier time with those springs on that free spool release assembly than I do working in tight quarters like this. Sometimes you can trap the points on that pawl. So what you want to do is just keep moving this line guide. Take kind of small steps back and forth. That generally helps to spin the pawl so that it's in the track of the worm gear. When you get it where you think it is, turn it. And if you're not seeing that move, just keep doing that in iterations until you find that it's riding there. I think we got it that time. I'm going to tighten this down, we'll see. Again, I'm spinning that inner idler gear, and we've got that. All right, so we're in good condition with that. Plastic gear on the inside does not need oil. It's plastic, it's self-lubricating. We're going to go ahead and put this back on, again, for our purposes of our testing. I think that you can see that little braid loop right there. And that's unfortunate, but that's, I think, how this whole thing started. When we took this spool off, we found that there was line that was choked around the inside of this. And, well, I think he's got too much line on here to begin with, so we're just going to take some of that off. There we go. You should always have about that much is the max that you should use for a line. You need to leave those shoulders on the spool. If you overline it, well, you saw what happens. It runs the risk of getting jammed. All right, let's just grab this, my scissor. I guess the starver sure just doesn't want to leave the show yet, so that's some things to consider. All right, let's try this again. In. Now we'll put a drop of oil on that just to work it in for now. We've taken apart, completely disassembled and reassembled. A little bit of grease onto here, which is going to go through that bushing. Here, which is going to go through the pinion gear that's been cleaned. Bring that up. Make sure you have a nice tight fit with a solid seam without gaps before you start tightening anything. And I like to hand tighten these screws. They give you the opportunity to do that with the knurled surface. So I like to tighten that up as much as I can before doing a final quarter turn or so to tighten it up for good. All right, let's see how we did here. Well, that's turning nice and free and easy, but that wasn't the issue, was it? The issue was with the release. We've got our release. Now, it's important, does it back up and kick? It does. If you want to free that up, back that spool adjuster off a little bit, and that'll speed it up. And, of course, we're looking for the back end of this. Well, that's it. That's how you do it. That's how you do a diagnosis of it. Now, if we had found that that click ratchet with all those little semicircles in it was damaged, if we found that click pawl with that little rounded edge that I showed you was elongated or worn or flattened out, you would replace that. If you found a broken spring, that's also a possibility with this, you would replace that as well. In this case, all of the pieces and parts just needed to be cleaned up. We've still got that little burring in there. It's not making a lot of noise. That's interesting enough. But I'll go flush that out after the video one more time, put another coat of oil on there, and then we'll get this one back out to Ron. He'll be able to take it fishing again. I hope you've enjoyed that. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, and everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. I want to thank everybody who's watching. Thank you for spending your time with me. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please like it, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day.